Hello, and welcome to Native Yoga Center. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and today I'm covering how to do extended triangle pose, also known as Utthita Trikonasana. Utthita Trikonasana, Utthita means extended, so it often references the extension of the arms or the feeling of lengthening through the body. Trikonasana means triangle posture. So in Utthita Trikonasana, we go over the side body, straight legs, arms vertical, alignment, look up, hand that's above head. So we have a right side and we have a left side. Today I'm going to cover all the tips, tricks, and basic steps for learning how to practice Utthita Trikonasana or extended triangle easily, safely, and fun, in a way that you feel like you actually benefit and grow with the pose. Now, are you a beginner to yoga? If so, I'm going to give you plenty of pointers, and even if you're advanced in the yoga practice, let me give you a couple tips. If you're a yoga teacher, I think some of the ideas here you'll be able to utilize in your yoga teaching practice as well. All right, so let's analyze the Utthita Trikonasana from the ground up. The first thing we're going to look at, the feet. So if I stand this way so that you can see the line that I have on this rug on my mat. So in Utthita Trikonasana, we're going to pretty much keep a heel to arch alignment so that somewhere in the realm of having the front heel and the back heel on a relative line. So it is fine to take that foot out a little wider if you need for stability. And this is some of the alignment techniques that I'm pointing out are very indicative of Ashtanga yoga. However, this will apply in whatever tradition you practice. Some of these pointers will be standard across the board. So with this idea that if we have a line and our feet are on that line, as if this was a balance beam and you have your feet on the line, the back foot is how you're going to be able to steer your balance, front side to side, so to speak. So if you have your back foot down, planted firmly and grounded, that's how you're going to steer the balance. In this case, with the going to the right side, our right foot ideally points straight in the direction that we're headed. And also, the leg is straight, but if we were to bend the knee would track directly forward, as opposed to like rotating the hip this way. Now, another way when we start learning the triangle pose is think about a pane of glass on the back side of my body and a pane of glass on the front, and they slowly squeeze together, and your body fits nice and even right in between that pane of glass. So when we set up, we try to get this nice straight line across, and when we look down at the legs, we have the feet on that same line. So where your right foot is, your right hand is directly above, and where your back foot is, your left hand is directly above. All right, now it is easy when we're in this phase of the pose, or I'll say easier, because a lot of times in yoga, easy is all relative, to get our hips relatively square. Notice that if I turn both feet parallel to one direction, I can keep my left hip and my right hip on that balance beam line. When I turn my right foot out, this hip will go to one side and the back hip will go to the other. We're going to attempt to try to keep the hips relatively in that line of the panes of glass pressing in. So that, now notice what happens when I come down toward my leg, often the right hip, when we're going to the right, will pull back and the left hip will pull forward. And now the hips kind of get into this more kind of 45-degree angle type of line. That's going to happen. Don't worry about that. The main thing, we'll work on that and improve that over time. But the main thing when we start coming down is we are going to try to keep our legs straight. Now, in Ashtanga yoga, the grip is to catch a hold of the big toe. In some of the Iyengar styles, or in Iyengar, you'll see some folks with a much wider stance and the hand on the floor. So there are different variations in relation to the width of the feet. So in Ashtanga, one of the ideas is what is the distance of your leg? So what if I were to measure the distance from my right hip down to my right heel? That distance is the same distance from one foot to the other, so that we actually create a triangle shape with our legs in the floor. Now that's the ideal. Sometimes when we see a really narrow stance, this would be a little bit too narrow for my leg length. And so we measure the width of the feet apart off of the leg length. So really, or shorter legs, shorter distance, longer legs, longer distance apart. All right, now what typically happens, because we see people in Ashtanga Yoga catching the big right toe. So there's a grip where you take your two fingers, your index and your middle, and you slide it between the two toes, the big and the second, and you grip the big toe with your thumb included in the grip. Now, that's easier said than done. That's a very deep grip. So my recommendation as a beginner is try to not bend the knee, because what we see is, oh, I got to grab my toe. So I go to bend my knee to come all the way down and grab my toe. Now you're still going to get a great stretch and you're still working your balance, so there's nothing inherently wrong with this. It's just that one of the characteristics of the triangle, because we see an extended triangle, we do bend our knee, but what's characteristic of triangle is no bending knee, both legs totally straight. So from an absolute beginner's perspective, I recommend put the right hand on the right knee. Take your left arm, reach straight up. Keep your leg straight. Activate the quadriceps, so your knee, is lifting a little. So when I say knee lifting, the kneecap is being drawn up. And slide the right hand as far down the shin as you can go without bending the knee. Find where that is, stabilize, draw belly in, reach up, and you have your triangle. And so, of course, we have a right side and a left side. In Ashtanga Yoga, we would hold it for 5 breaths. Inhale, exhale, in and out 5 times. In other traditions like Iyengar and or Hatha Yoga, we might choose to hold it for a minute or 2 minutes, or however long we want to challenge ourselves with holding the posture. But definitely hold the same amount of time on the right side that you hold on the left side. All right, now that's the basic gist. Now, that is tricky because when I put my hand onto my leg, I'm only balancing on 2 points of contact with the floor. I'm balancing on my left foot and my right foot. Now, the back foot, notice that if I take my foot and I turn it straight ahead towards you, we'll call that a 90-degree angle. In relation to if we have our foot out, 180, we turn it to 90. Now, in triangle, try to take your back foot, actually turn it in a little bit of 90 to somewhere between 45 and 85. That means turn your left foot in. What that'll do is that'll allow you a little bit of range of motion with your hips to maneuver your hips a little easier. If you keep that back foot open and you come out, it's hard for you to position your hip. So the other thing is that I'm a fan of using a block or even a chair. Like in relation to a chair, the chair is a lot higher. I can put my hand on the chair and rest on the chair and reach up nice and tall and get a really good triangle experience with that, with a prop. And the cool thing about that is you do have a third point of contact, your hand. And so what I was mentioning before, let me turn this way so you can see the line. If I have my feet lined up, I have my back foot in at about 45 degrees. I have my 2 heels in a really close approximation to each other on the line. If I take a block, and here it's on the high side, of course the block has a high side, a medium side, and a low side. Now that I have my hand on a block, I can lean against the block, and that does help a little bit with the balance. So this can make it a little bit easier in relation to balance. All right, now let's cover another couple of aspects, what to do with the shoulders and the arms. And this is a really interesting point because my teacher, Tim Miller, amazing teacher, and I really like what he had to say when pointing this out to me. What was happening is that I was striving so intently to grab a hold of my big toe that my arm, my hand, ends up going out in front of my shoulder. Now, if I take my hand and I bring it up onto my shin, I can get a really straight, a much straighter line from my right hand up to my left hand and really work this sort of expansion across the chest and shoulders. If I slide my hand down and come all the way for the toe, I create a little bit more of like almost like a U-bend or like a curve bend. No problem. But it's just a matter of what are we aiming for. If we really want to get this sort of extended element where we reach apart from the body, completely appropriate to have your hand on the shin and to expand up and to have that nice, strong, straight line across the body. Because ultimately, in my opinion, we need to think about, what is the goal? What is my goal? My goal is to use my body and the posture, the yoga pose, as a tool for concentration and for meditation, and to also inspire improved health and or maintained health. So, we're getting the benefits of opening the body, maintaining the mobility of the joints, targeting our balance, which helps with our vestibular system. We're also working on breathing, so we're keeping the tone of our diaphragm, our breathing muscle. So, we have to determine, what is my ultimate goal. If I'm just trying to show off, and I think that true showing off or making my pose look really cool is if I can grab my toe because everybody else is, that might not be the best thing for us. So I really employ or encourage you to think about, why am I practicing triangle pose? What is my goal in practicing triangle pose? And then we can come up with alignment details or techniques that are appropriate for you. Now, another key ingredient is make sure that you continue to breathe, inhale and exhale. Now, another thing, let me turn and face towards you from the side angle like this so you can see what often happens. I go to come down to grab a hold of my leg or my toe. My hips go out way off to the side. I'm able to grab my toe, but I'm in this sort of position here where I'm not in between the two panes of glass. What I'm going to attempt to do is try to bring my hips above the balance beam, above the line that the heels are on, and have the arm go directly above. Now that is a lot easier said than done, because if I'm reaching down and out and have the hand going toward the shin, that pushes the hips back. So if you bring your hand higher up onto your shin, you can get your hips a little bit more aligned, where you have this nice line going from your feet up to your hips and your hips all the way up to your hand. So again, think about the overall shape of the pose and build the integrity of the pose. So don't worry about just trying to hit the goalpost points like catching the toe or having the arms completely straight across if there's no stability. In other words, if I'm coming down for the toe and I'm hanging like this, I'm not really focused on keeping some sort of like integrity. I'm just aiming for the toe grip. So in my opinion, nice straight legs, nice strong straight arms, gaze holding the balance stable, not wobbling all over the place, and keeping a nice, good, firm, steady position. Now, the other key too is you got to pay attention to your body. This does do a very deep hamstring stretch. You have 3 main strands of hamstrings on the back of your leg. The 2 inside lines are called the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus. When we practice the triangle pose, this does a great job of opening up this inside line on the inner thigh, and a great job of opening up the musculature on the lateral edge of your hip, specifically what's called the TFL, the tensor fascia lata, and also you have your IT band going down the side of the leg. So by opening the hip up and trying to reach up through the arm, we really work on this flexibility on the inside edge of the leg. So remember, stability first, balance, align the feet, get a good stable balance, determine if you need a prop, like a chair or a block, and then work once you land in the pose, breathe nice and steady. All right, let me cover a couple more details. So from the Ashtanga perspective, we're on the fundamental asanas. We would take a step to the right and reach the arms apart. At this point, the palms are facing down. That's vinyasa number 1. Vinyasa number 2, the toes turn out. You pivot on the heel. You extend down and reach and catch where you can keep your legs straight. If I am going to go for my big toe, I make the catch. I turn my drishti, my focal point, up toward the hand above and really expand. Now another element, and another thing Tim used to joke around with me about, he'd say, Todd, you have a banana back going on. What does that mean? Well, the banana back references doing a big, deep back bend. So watch what happens. I'm holding on, and right now I'm like curving my back way out, and I'm letting my ribs just kind of everything on the side just open up. One strategy is to reduce the amount of spinal extension that is occurring and utilize the strength of your core to take the lower ribs and just bring them down a little bit into the body. So if we have a really big, what's called a lordotic curve, that's where our hips stick out, and kind of a sway back, part of the musculature that we're coordinating in this, and we can see it from Samasthitihi. If I stand in Samasthitihi and I stick my butt way back or my hips way back, what we're going to attempt to do is start to bring the hips forward and pull the belly in so we get this nice, strong, stable structure up and down. And this is, you have what's called the rectus abdominis muscle, which is your six-pack muscle. And it attaches here on your xiphoid process and down here on the pubic bone. And when you're six-pack, you've all heard of the six-pack muscle. You know what it is. When you contract that, that takes your xiphoid and pulls it down a little bit. It basically shortens this distance. We've got to be moderate. You're not looking to squeeze and lock it down super tight, but just be aware of the bandhas. The bandhas is the engagement of your abdominal musculature while holding in the pose. So again, I come into the pose. Notice if I have this big lordotic curve, sway my back, I'm going to press my hips forward to my front body, take the abdomen, draw in, take the ribs, pull them in, and then try to expand. So this way, triangle pose is opening up from the center of the body. And if you set your base up really solid at your feet, focus feet steady, belly in, and expand through your arms, and you can really feel the extended triangle and the benefits of the extended triangle, the Utthita Trikonasana. Woo! That was a mouthful. All right. I hope you enjoyed. My goal, my intention is to answer any questions that you have about your yoga poses and to create a forum where I can answer them here live. On that note, let me check out and see if you asked any questions. So I do this every single Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Eastern. All right. Well, thank you so much. I will be back here again next Thursday. If you have a specific yoga-related question that you would like for me to answer, remember, just send me an email, info@nativeyogacenter.com. Also, check us out on our website, nativeyogacenter.com. I record all of our classes and upload them onto our website that is called nativeyogaonline.com. You can see all the classes that we record, and you can practice from the comfort of your own home every single day. Upload new classes. I upload classes every single day. Every single day. I'm not joking. Every single day. All right. So, oh yeah, and on Friday, tomorrow, or every Friday, I release Native Yoga Toddcast. So if you go to our website, check it out. I interview yoga teachers from all over the world. Some of the best, the brightest, the most educated, smart, focused, fun-loving yoga teachers, yoga practitioners. You'll learn so much. Check it out. All right. Until next time, I'll see you then. Hello. Hi, Horla. Thank you, Horla596. I appreciate you commenting in. Thanks for joining in. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to write them here. But I do appreciate you watching and tuning in. Thank you so much.